This diagram displays Ken Wilber's four-quadrant integral operating system. We're focusing our analysis on the upper left quadrant, the domain of interior individual consciousness. The baseline operational unit here is the chitta. Ideally, it functions as this concentrated sphere of one-pointed awareness. In cognitive science and contemplative psychology, optimizing this system requires a rigorous understanding of its primary structural failures. Advanced contemplative practice functions as a systematic mechanical debugging of the mind's deepest and most destructive pathologies. The analysis begins with a specific systemic failure, udacha. This term identifies a state of profound structural restlessness and psychic agitation. Udacha typically pairs with kukucha, a secondary state characterized by repetitive brooding and worry. Within the Abhidhamma framework, these paired states are categorized as one of the 5 hindrances, the nivarama. This hindrance actively blocks evolutionary growth by fragmenting the previously unified chitta. This fragmentation renders the system incapable of stable focus, blinding the practitioner's capacity for objective perception. The texts describe udacha as a pile of ash struck by a stone. The impact creates a blinding, chaotic cloud that obscures all clarity. Udacha represents an active, entropic explosion of the interior individual consciousness that must be contained. The blinding cloud of ash created by udacha renders the system incapable of discerning skillful direction. Within this confusion, the mind defaults to akusala, unskillful psychological action. This chart shows how blind reactions initiate a deterministic feedback loop. Unskillful action generates a vector of coma demanding further outward projection. This vector forces awareness to scatter. The mind begins a high-frequency scan, searching for new distractions to stabilize its agitation. Maintaining this fragmented outward focus consumes immense quantities of psychic energy. The terminal result of this systemic drain is dukkha, a state of existential friction and suffering. The system is now designed to perpetuate its own anxiety, requiring increasing stimulus just to maintain its baseline. The karmic vector of udacha ensures the practitioner remains trapped in a self-reinforcing cycle of cognitive dissonance, entirely alienated from their center. The Samyutta Nikaya, a primary collection of early Buddhist discourses, diagnosed this exact feedback loop over 2 millennia ago. These manuscripts specify that any association of desire passion with the mind constitutes a defilement of awareness. The Buddha employed several specific analogies to illustrate the condition of a mind trapped by these 5 hindrances. The texts explicitly compare the state of udacha to the experience of carrying a heavy financial debt or suffering from a severe wasting sickness. In its final analogy, the scattered mind is described as a prison, locking the subject inside their own neurobiology. Resolving this pathology requires a precise technological intervention to starve the agitation of its cognitive nutriment. Halting the outward entropy of the chitta requires the application of specific counter-technologies. The first factor required for this intervention is passaddhi, meaning tranquility or serenity. Passaddhi operates mechanically to dampen the feverish, high-frequency vibration of the mind, aligning the chaotic frequencies of the ash cloud. The second required factor is samadhi, or one-pointed concentration. Samadhi acts as a gravitational force, drawing the scattered particulate matter back toward a unified center. Applying these cognitive antidotes shifts the mind from passive slavery toward active, neutral embodiment. To trigger these antidotes, the system requires an operational protocol, satipatthana, or mindfulness. Satipatthana operates as a mechanism for radical structural extraction from the mind's internal turbulence. The subject executes a shift in perspective, pulling rapidly backward from the agitation to act as an objective witness outside of it. This enables the mechanical process of observing the scattered mind as a passing object or halan. The practitioner then deliberately relaxes thought fabrication, starving the system of momentum until it settles. Genuine mindfulness constitutes a precise structural extraction of the self from the entropic pull of udacha. When the turbulence is successfully starved, the consciousness remains powered and alert. The system undergoes a radical structural adaptation into its terminal state. This state is upekkha, equanimity. The Abhidhamma identifies this state specifically as Tatra Majjhatata, impartial middleness. Tatra Majjhatata represents an absolute thermodynamic balance, a highly refined state distinct from pre-rational apathy or stolid indifference. This state vibrates with immense energy while remaining perfectly stable and unmoving, like a high-speed gyroscope in perfect alignment. Sustaining this center requires immense systemic energy, proving that equanimity is an active, highly evolved transrational achievement. The traditional commentaries employ the metaphor of a charioteer. He maintains perfect balance through dynamic tension, even as his horses strain in opposite directions. The neutralized mind maintains this perfect tension over external forces, refusing to be pulled toward either attachment or aversion. This embodiment permanently eradicates the feverishness of the passions and the systemic vulnerability to uddhacca. Mapping this achievement onto the integral operating system shows the result. The upper left quadrant now pulses with a clear, phase-aligned resonance. The interior individual domain is now fundamentally optimized and free of its primary pathology. Defeating uddhacca allows the practitioner to view the ceaseless flux of the cosmos with supreme objectivity, completing the ultimate ascent to transrational equipoise.